Hello there and welcome. This is Handmade Originals. I can just about get my head in this hole. Actually this is really heavy. Hello and welcome back to Handmade Originals. Well, I'm in London. My hair is in the 1970s. And we're in our third lockdown. Here is a wall, and I'm going to teach you how to climb it. Nah, kidding. So, in this video, I am going to show you how to put pictures on the wall. Before you say that's simple, everybody knows how to do it, I'm going to show you how to put 3 different types of picture on 3 different types of wall. And the reason I'm doing this, and you may want to do it, is because I gave my husband a picture for Christmas, which has been sitting against the wall for weeks now. I've also had a major declutter and I found some pictures in the garage which I quite want to put up, but we're going to start simplest one first, which is this picture of Miles Davis I got for my husband for Christmas. He absolutely loves Miles Davis. This is where he works from home all day. So I'm going to put it here so that when he gets fed up, he can look across, see Miles Davis, and it'll make him smile. So the easiest way to put a picture up is using these. But you can only use these if your picture is under a certain weight. If you're going to use 2 of these velcro stickers, it has to be under up to 8 pounds, and if you're going to use 4, it's up to 16 pounds. Well, I've weighed this picture and this is 2 pounds, so I'm just going to use 2. I've already put 2 here, 1 there and 1 on the other corner there, but before I did that I wiped those areas with surgical spirit, which is cheap as chips. You can get it from your local chemist. If you can't get any, I think you could probably use nail varnish remover, same sort of thing, as long as it hasn't got any oil in it. If it's got oil in it, it's defeating the whole purpose, because you want to clear the area completely to make it grease free, so that your glue on the back of the velcro strip sticks. So not only do you have to wipe the picture, but you also have to wipe the area where you're going to stick on the wall. So I've already done that, and the way to find where to put the stickers on the wall is like this. You don't take the paper off yet, otherwise you can't push on it, your fingers will be stuck to it. So just gently tap it in so that it stays put, and then take the paper off. And then, having worked out where you're going to put it, which I've already done, line it up, stick it there. Now, before you leave it, you lift your picture up, which may seem a bit daft. The idea is, whoops, that one stayed stuck there, so that's not good. So the idea is that you push these firmly against the wall and you let that set or adhere or whatever it's got to do for about an hour, and then you come back and you put your picture up. And I think the reason that the velcro here didn't stay put the first time is because I'd only just put those on before we started filming, so it needs to adhere to whichever surface it's going to be stuck to, either on the picture or on the wall. Leave it there for about an hour before you try to put the 2 together. So we're going to come back in an hour and then put this up. Because when I put this up first of all, just to position these, this one came off. However, it's really easy in lockdown to be just knocked back by the smallest things going wrong, and you just think, oh, it's all a disaster. It's not. You have to be resilient, and you have to think to yourself, okay, that doesn't work, I'm going to make it work. So what I did was I got myself a small stapler, and I opened the stapler up. I don't know if you can see here. I opened the stapler up so that just the top part was here, and then just went with my fist and I've pushed these staples right in. You see there? So that is not going anywhere, that's staying put. And now I can put this up on the wall. You look at the side to find where to position it, it's easier. And then this is another reason to use perspex, not glass, because you have to give it quite a whack to make it stay put. I find that they say press it, but I think perhaps I'm too short or not strong enough, but I couldn't get it to stay put like that. Whoa! Anyway, ta-da! Now, why is this a good thing from a lockdown misery point of view? Because my husband sits here to work every day, endlessly, and this means every time he gets up, he will see Miles looking at him, and I'm hoping it's going to put a smile on his face. So that's a good thing. It might also put some of Miles's music in his head, which is another good thing. And it also means he'll look at this and he'll think, my wife is fantastic. I'm not very good at winking. Hello, so what am I doing standing in my airing cupboard? Well, that's a very good question. This is in fact a health and safety announcement, because for the next 2 walls we're going to be drilling holes in those walls, and you should never ever take a stab at it or feel the fear and do it anyway, or any of those other reckless expressions, because whereas that might be applicable to other areas of your life, when it comes to drilling holes in walls where there could be water pipes or there could be electrical cables, absolutely stupid. Because water pipes, if you drill into one of those, it will cost you a fortune, because you'll have to get an emergency plumber out, good luck with that, and all the damage it will cause on carpets, etc, etc. Electrical cables, you could actually electrocute yourself, which means at worst you could kill yourself, and at best you could end up going to hospital, where none of us want to go at the moment. So what I would urge you to do, and this is the health and safety part, is to get something like this. Not necessarily this one, because I'm not selling it or pushing it or anything like that. This just happens to be the one that I bought because it was sort of at the cheaper end. I think this one was just under £40. And this is a detector it's actually metal and electric. So I'm assuming, not necessarily correctly, that pipes are all metal, they should be copper, but as we all know, sometimes they're put into plastic pipes, so you have to be super careful with that. And also detects electrical cables. So I just wanted to show you this so you could see they do actually work. This is a great big bit of worktop, so I'm putting that in front, pretending that's the wall. Detects the metal, okay? Got it. And this, the flashing, is electrical cable. So that's how it works. So having one of these is a real case of not only knowledge is power, but knowledge is empowering, because once you know where the things to avoid are, you can avoid them. Right, let's move on to wall number 2. I don't show you in this one me actually finding where the electrical cables are, I just make sure that they are not where I want to drill. Right, here we are, picture number 2 and wall number 2. This is a different hanging system, and this is a different type of wall. This is, in fact, let's talk about wall first. This is a solid wall. How do I know that? Because I can tap all the way along it and it's the same sound all the way. No hollow sounds at all, no spaces in between. It's also an outside wall, which is a pretty big clue that an outside wall will be a solid wall. What does this mean? It means that if you think about it in terms of shoes, I know this is a strange analogy, but come with me on this journey. This is the equivalent of a clog, a wooden clog. You can drill a hole into it and put a screw into it, and the screw will not be able to get any purchase on that hole, in the same way that if you put your foot into a wooden clog, it will always slightly rattle about and will never be snug. The way round that, if you think about it with your foot, is to put on a thick sock, and that way it will go in and it will stay put and it will be a comfortable, cosy fit. Right. In the same way that when you've drilled a hole in this wall, what you need is a sock, and Okay, this is, I know it's far-fetched. So this is your equivalent of a plastic sock. It's called a roll plug. And what you do is you tap that with a hammer into the hole so that it comes, if my hand is the wall, it comes like that. So it's literally just flush to the surface of the wall. And then you screw your screw in, and you can see even just there, and I'm not holding it with my hands, it's held in place by the plastic sock, the roll plug, and you'll keep screwing until you go all the way in. I'm not going to do it now because I'm going to just about to put that in the wall, like that. Right, I'm just going to quickly tap. I've already drilled the holes in the wall, and in fact I'm putting up a diptych, which is 2 pictures, as you know, or two boards together making 1 picture. So I've put that one up already. I'm just about to do the 4th and final screw going in. So I've made a hole. I'm just going to tap this in, put this screw in, and then I'll show you how this hanging system works, because it's not straightforward. Right, let's have a look at the hanging system on these pictures. This is a clip frame, and initially I couldn't remember how to hang this because we've had this knocking around in the garage for ages, and actually I'd completely forgotten about these pictures. But I thought, oh, all I have to do is string a piece of wire across like this and hang it on the wire. It doesn't work because the wire breaks and the picture falls down. So what you actually have to do with a clip frame is you drill holes in the walls and insert screws this distance apart, and then you literally lift the picture onto the screws and they hook in. I don't know if you can see this. So you lift it at an angle like that, you hook the top of the screw in, and then it hangs up like that. So I'm effectively in the wall here, like that. So before you put any screws in the wall, really important to check they actually fit the hanging mechanism. So initially I was going to put this screw in, but look, if you can see, it doesn't fit in, so I'd have wasted all my time doing that. So check the screw heads fit in first, and then hang a picture. Right, I've got my 2 screws in now. I'm going to have a go hanging this up. Let's see if it works. If I fall off the ladder, somebody call for help. Right, now put it at that angle. The good thing about these is you can actually, if the screw isn't in exactly the right place, you can actually just, oh, come on, move it along a bit. And that's it, it's up. Right. And here it is, and I'm really pleased with the way it's gone up. It was a little bit hard getting them all lined up, and I know it's not millimetre perfect. If it annoys me too much, I'll adjust it later. But for the moment, it's good enough. And the fact is, although we all do housework and stuff like that, and you think, oh, good, job done, you have to do it again, week after week after week. But something like this, once it's up, it stays up, and then every time I come into the room, I'm going to look at that and think, yeah, that's such a nice picture, and it makes me feel like I'm on holiday. And speaking of holidays, like many of you, we've had our holidays cancelled this year. It was going to be my husband's 60th birthday this year, so we were planning a sort of holiday of a lifetime, but it's just been cancelled, and that's utterly miserable, but we're not alone. But having this picture up on the wall, I can come in and think, hey, sort of like a holiday at home. Anyway, it gives me something else to look at, and it's on the wall for as long as I keep it there. It's job done, and I'm happy with that. I think one of the best tools that we have for dealing with lockdown and all the difficulties it brings is our imagination. And I think that if you can come into a room and then imagine that you're somewhere else and it's lovely and it's warm and it's sunny, then it takes you out of yourself, it makes you feel happier, it lightens your mood. Also, there is research to show that if you look up at something, and this takes your eyes up, I think, that also lightens your mood, so that's a good thing too. And getting it off the floor, which has been driving me mad, means that instead of looking down, which is a sort of miserable, you know, literally downcast view, this now makes me look up and makes me smile, so that's got to be a good thing. Right, now let's move on to wall number 3 and picture number 3, both of which are quite difficult to deal with. And here we are at the third and final wall with the third and final picture. And I think I've saved the hardest till last. So this is a stud wall, what we call a stud wall in the UK, but I think in America they call it drywall, which basically means the construction is that it has timbers running floor to ceiling, which are about 16 to 24 inches apart. It also has noggins, which always make me laugh, which are little bits of wood running across like that every now and then just to hold them equidistant all the way up and down to hold them in place. And then over the top of that timberwork frame you have plasterboard, and that is nailed into each stud. Well, that is what they are called, running up and down, and then you have a skim of plaster over the top. So the difficulty comes when you want to put up a really heavy picture like this. Oh, here we go again, which has just that wire hanging system, because you have to make sure that whatever you put the hooks into is going to be strong enough to hold the weight of the picture. While it's safe to screw a heavy picture like that into the hooks for it into timber, it is, I would suggest, not so safe to do it into plasterboard. So you have to first of all find they're called studs, going up and down. And then you have to find where your electrical cables are to make sure that you don't hit any of those. And you also have to find your water pipes to make sure you don't hit any of those. Now, I've managed to exclude water pipes from the whole equation because there are no radiators or any water features, fountains or anything on this wall. The only thing that I'm bothered about on this wall is any electrical wires. So what I've done to start with is I have turned on all the electrical things here, including sockets, because it's easier to pick up an electrical wire with the detector which I showed you downstairs. There are many different fixings for putting hooks into plasterboard, but for a picture of this weight, and I think I weighed it at about 14 pounds, in excess of 14 pounds actually, I want something which is going to be super secure. So I'm actually going to dodge that whole, which fixing do you use in plasterboard to make it safe, because I'm going to put fixings straight into the studs. I've used the stud finder, I've used this one to find my studs, and I know that there's one running up and down here, and then there's one running up and down here. And this stud finder, I'll put details for it below. I'm not promoting it or anything like that. This actually also finds electricity and metal. I bought this after I bought this one, and then I kicked myself thinking, well, actually I need only have bought this one, which is actually cheaper than that one. But it's actually quite reassuring to have two, so you can double check, especially when you're dealing with something like live electricity, because I really don't want to electrocute myself. Anyway, so these are my two studs running up here, and the top of my picture I want to go up there. And the wire, if I put two hooks on my picture, and obviously it's always better to put two, share the burden, rather than one, where all of the weight and the load is on one single point. So I would like to put one hook in each stud. It is roughly equidistant from the centre point, which comes about here. So I am happy to trade it not quite being in the middle of the wall for the security of knowing that it's held in two wooden timbers, rather than worrying about it being screwed into plasterboard. And I'll tell you why. Let's consider, the shoe analogy I used with the other room where we had the solid wall and that was like a clog. Well, plasterboard, to my mind, is like a leather shoe. The reason being that when you first put it on, or when you first put your screw or fixing or whatever you use into it, it feels nice and snug, and that's fine. When you've worn it for a little while, and when it's been hanging up there for a little while, it kind of goes, and the shoe becomes a bit sort of stretched, and eventually it becomes a bit sort of baggy, and that's the end of that shoe. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so, well, I wasn't expecting this, so let's not frighten it off. This is a very rare occurrence in London. It's a full roll of loo paper.
I'll take that.
That's so cheeky. Okay, Americans, hey? They're over here, they take our loo paper. What can I say? Anyway, this is what I wanted to show you. I can talk loudly now that it's gone. If you fix something into plasterboard, after a few, perhaps even years, this is what happens. You get a very wobbly fixing, and I just don't want that happening with my picture and having it then fall off the wall. That's the bit underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to avoid fixing into the plasterboard altogether, and I'm just going to find the studs and put the fixings straight into the solid wood, which will be much more secure and much safer. I'm going to go back to wall number 3 and show you what happens next. Right, so I hope that demonstrates what my reluctance to fix directly into the plasterboard and why I'm really keen to go into the stud. By the way, as I'm knocking, I hope you can hear the difference. This is another way, if you don't have a detector, you can find where your studs are. If you go, listen, hollow, stud, hollow, stud. You can do that, and that's what people used to do before they had detectors. Personally, I think it's safer, and I would urge you to get a detector, especially if you're new to this, and then you can have that double reassurance of knowing you're screwing hooks into the right place. Let me just show you how the detector works with electrical cables. As I say, I've turned all the electrical switches and sockets on. I've got bare hands, which apparently is a requirement, and I also have taken my slippers off because they have rubber soles. So I've moved the camera a little bit, and I'm now standing on a chair because I want to show you how electrical cables are registered on this one. So I'm moving up the stud. That is one spot that's registering metal, so that is a nail or a screw holding the plasterboard into the wooden stud. That's another one, another one. Right, here we have an electrical cable, and let's move it sideways. So it goes all the way across there, and actually that makes sense because I've got a light switch over there, and I've got a light switch over here on the other side of this wall, and I've got a socket down there. So I think what they've done is taken the cables up and over, and I just need to make sure I'm not anywhere near them. I've put this screw in already here into one of the studs, and that's well below where the electrical cables are there. And you really don't want to, I mean, I wouldn't even go close. I just want to keep away from them. I don't want any trouble. Okay, I'm going to put the other screw in now. And as it's a heavy picture, I'm also using quite a long screw. And that's it. You have to push it quite hard, but that's a good thing because that means that's really, really secure. Right, what is this here? You might ask yourselves. This was just a different way I was thinking of trying to find the studs. The studs are, as I said earlier, where you're going to have all the nails which have secured the plasterboard, and this is a magnet, which is just, that's where one of the nails is, so that's another way of finding them. Right, so now we can put the picture up. And here we have it, the third and final picture up, and very appropriate for a bedroom. And we're talking about relevance to lockdown. Sleep, most important for your mental and physical health, and apparently also boosts your immune system. So not such a terrible picture to hang up in the bedroom, just to remind us of the importance of relaxing, calming down, trying not to be stressed. So let's recap the 3 pictures that I've put up today. Not so much the hanging systems or the walls, but the different effects. Number 1, the Miles Davis picture, makes my husband smile. Number 2, the diptych of the swimming pool, which actually, although you should strictly speaking hang it slightly apart, I've hung it right next to each other so that it looks like a window. And when I go into that room, I imagine to myself that I'm looking through a window and there's a swimming pool just outside, which always makes me feel in a happier frame of mind. And picture number 3, this one, which is emphasising the importance of sleep, and we could all do with more sleep. Whichever picture you choose to put up in your house, in your home, pick something that's going to elevate your spirits. And something I think which you will find if you do put something up, in whichever way, shape or form you choose to put it up, is that if you do something like this, every time you look at it, not just the picture, but when you look at the thing that you've put on the wall, you can pat yourself on the back and think, I did that, and be a bit proud of yourself. And it's about taking control of your own environment and being active and not passive, and I think that's a very empowering thing. I would urge, however, DIY-C, which is do it yourself carefully, especially when you're talking about radiator pipes and electrical cables running through the wall. And although this one seemed to go up very quickly, in actual fact I spent an awful lot of time checking the wall, marking where the pipes were, checking them again, and I was actually pleased I had 2 detectors in the end, because I used them to cross-check one against the other to be absolutely 100% sure I knew where the pipes, not the pipes, but I knew where the electrical cables were, because I really, really didn't want to electrocute myself. Yeah, not a good time to be rushing off to hospital in shock. I'm also adding, as an extra bonus, 2 extra links down below, not to my videos, to other people's videos, one of which demonstrates how to put a fixing into a plasterboard if you've got a very heavy picture, if you can't find, or your studs are in the wrong place. And that's very good, very informative. And the other video deals with how to position your artwork on the walls so that it looks aesthetically pleasing. It does talk about various rules and things. I think it's quite useful to watch it to give you an idea of why something looks right to you and why it perhaps doesn't look right to you. It sort of explains the instinct that you have. It's a bit like feng shui, explaining why a tidy room looks better than an untidy, cluttered one. So I think that's useful to watch. I'm not saying you should follow those rules absolutely rigidly, but I think it is useful and interesting to watch. Anyway, so hopefully this has been interesting and useful to watch, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And I will be putting up a video soon explaining how to deal with that wonky loo roll paper holder, or even you could use this method on like a towel rail or something that has come loose on plasterboard. So watch for that. If you want to make sure you don't miss it, make sure you subscribe. A thumbs up, a like apparently is a good thing. I don't know how these things work. That would be good. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.